Welcome back to Transmission on Bent TV. I'm Sammy Cameron, and today we're talking about minorities. Joining me today are Lou, Danii, and Millaa. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
As trans, we already represent a tiny minority of the population, but not being white, binary, or opposite sex attracted makes us an even smaller proportion of the population. How does this intersection of being a member of more than one minority group affect us and the people around us? Minorities who are discriminated against often discriminate against other groups, especially smaller groups. Is there a problem with some LGBT groups or individuals discriminating against others?
Yeah, I think there is. I think it just makes more confliction and makes more things sort of fragment, doesn't it? If you have all these people sort of attacking each other for like, there should be more things that unite us than divide us, as they say. I don't know, what do you think?
Oh, well, I find that in the it ends up going that way because we've got a binary world within gender, and then when you come into the transgender community, there's another binary again, and everyone expects you to choose a gender. Like I was having a conversation with someone the other day when I was explaining being androgynous, and they said, yeah, but what pronoun do you prefer? And I said, I don't mind if you call me he or she. I'll answer to both. Never he, she, but he or she, and I'll answer to both. And they said, no, but which do you prefer? And I went, same answer as above. I will answer to he or she, so there seems to be a need to pick.
Yeah, so difference even amongst people who are different is challenging.
Yeah, it is.
And causes some friction. There are many subgroups within the trans landscape, e.g. those who do or don't have operations, those who do or don't take hormones, and those who live full-time in their preferred gender versus those who live part-time. Do trans and the wider gay and lesbian community always support each other with these differences?
Oh, well, did you want to say something?
Well, I think not. I just think that some gay, trans, or lesbian people, they some of them leave others astray, don't type thing. That's what I've noticed.
So ignored by others in the community sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
I think there's not very many venues even for that are trans inclusive. I mean, they're like drag queen inclusive, but not so much trans, I find. And it's funny to also remember as well about, our queer history, which is that, it was trans people that started, for instance, Stonewall and things like that. And then it was gays and lesbians that actually was like, let's fight back for our own emancipation, But it was actually people who were, some of the more oppressed within that wider queer community, that were the ones that first fought back against the police. I think we need to remember that, because without that, we wouldn't have all this, would we? You know what I mean? Because, gay and lesbians, they weren't ready, perhaps, or they just didn't have the same compulsion to revolt.
I think we're such a tiny minority, even in the gay and lesbian space.
But still,
and there are stereotypes that aren't appropriate, and so I think that makes it difficult. And I think that maybe some people have had bad experiences with one trans person in their life, and they assume that all trans people are going to be like that. So, what's the range of responses to genderqueer people by people who've transitioned fully?
Well, it's a range. Exactly, it's a range. I think a lot of trans people see aspects of genderqueer as something that they would want to adopt for themselves, and also sometimes it's also sometimes quite divisive. I think, because sometimes they think that genderqueer people are not exactly, they can't adopt the name trans because they're not this or that. They're not accepting the binary. They're just sort of quite whimsical almost, I think. Sometimes is what I've received from trans people, and even just gay and lesbian people and normal people. They're all just like, well, what are you going to be, Arthur or Martha? And it's like, well, do I have to be any? Do I have to be Arthur or Martha? why can't I be both simultaneously?
It reminds me a little bit about bisexual people and the lack of acceptance that they get because they talk of like why don't they make a decision? And it's a lack of acceptance that people should be allowed to identify how they want to, and others should just accept it. Does racism occur within the trans and wider gay and lesbian community?
Yeah, I believe that it does. I've had I've been out one time and I've had another trans lady call me a racist name, but you know, I'll lift us up. But yeah, I just believe that
it does.
We need to work up.
It does happen.
Yeah, and we need to stop this and just be happy.
Be more accepting of differences in the other.
Yeah.
Because we're all pretty cool people, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We are. Yeah.
How do Indigenous communities accept people who fall outside the gender binary?
Well, it depends because there's all different types of tribes and different beliefs and stuff like that. But
do you find acceptance in some places and not others?
Yeah.
There are some very supportive groups.
Yeah, and then
Aboriginal communities.
Yeah, and then there's some that are just
nasty.
Yeah, we'll say that. We'll say nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And how have things changed over time? Is the trans community better to each other than we were in the past, or worse?
I'm a newcomer to everything, and you were saying genderqueer before, and I don't identify as genderqueer. Because my process of I'm new to the community, and I call myself transgender because I'm having a transition from being what I was, very feminine, to being able to express my masculinity in a very overt way. So to the point of where I am seen as a man on the train or something like that, and that's not very confusing for them. But then when I'm looking more androgynous, I get confused looks and stuff, but it is a process for me that I'm going through. I don't go from being really feminine to androgynous and go ta-da. It's taking time, and people are seeing that. My partner is seeing that and going on that journey with me too, but that's definitely trans, not... But I'm pretty open and accepting as well, so I'm not fussed. If you really want to call me genderqueer, that's fine, but I identify more as transgender.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I think the trans community has gotten better. I think it has. I think there's more people, there's wider acceptance of it within the heteronormative and also within, the homonormative, I guess. And I really like that. And I think that, of course, there is still the oppression from within the gay community and from without. But I think together there is a sort of sense of solidarity because we're joined, I think, in our difference.
I agree. I do think that things are better, but there's always room for improvement.
Yes.
And hopefully we're having an impact in some shape or form.
It's been a really positive experience for me so far, yeah.
So I'd like to thank Lou, Danii and Millaa for joining us today. I'm Sammy Cameron and on transmission for Bent TV. I look forward to seeing you all next time.